"We're going tomorrow, Dad. I've sold your beach house." But she didn't know I had. Can you imagine being 72 years old, enjoying what you thought would be your peaceful twilight years, only to have your own daughter look you dead in the eye and tell you she's sold your home, not just any home, but the beach house, the one I poured my life savings and countless memories into, the one my late wife absolutely adored. She said it with such a casual dismissiveness, as if she was announcing the weather, not the seismic shift of my entire existence. My daughter, Sarah, always had a streak of entitlement, but this was a whole new level of betrayal. She thought she had me cornered, believed I was an old man, frail and unaware, a pawn in her grand scheme. But what she didn't know, what no one knew, was the secret I had been guarding for years, a secret that was about to turn her meticulously planned future into a spectacular inferno. Was I wrong for what I did next, for letting her walk headfirst into the trap she unknowingly set for herself? Tell me honestly if you would have done the same thing. Let me take you back to the beginning, to a time when I believed my life was a picture of serene contentment. My name is Arthur, and for 50 wonderful years I was married to the most incredible woman, Eleanor. We built our life together from scratch, through thick and thin, through joys and heartbreaks. We had one daughter, Sarah, who, even as a child, displayed a certain demanding streak. Eleanor, bless her kind heart, always saw the best in Sarah, excusing her occasional selfishness as youthful exuberance. I, on the other hand, had a more realistic view, though I always hoped she would outgrow it. When Eleanor was diagnosed with an aggressive form of cancer 5 years ago, our world shattered. The beach house became our sanctuary during those final months. It was a modest place, not a mansion, but it sat on a prime piece of coastline, offering breathtaking views and the soothing sound of the waves. Eleanor loved that house more than anything. We spent our last anniversary there, watching the sunset, making promises we knew couldn't be kept, but cherishing the moment nonetheless. After she passed, the beach house became my solace, my physical connection to her memory. Every plank of wood, every ocean breeze, every sunrise over the water was a reminder of her, of us. It was more than just a house. It was a living monument to our love story. Sarah, however, saw it differently. To her, it was an asset, a piece of real estate ripe for the taking. Our relationship, always a bit strained, had deteriorated further after Eleanor's death. Sarah seemed to view my grief as an inconvenience, an obstacle to her own desires. She rarely visited, and when she did, her conversations revolved around my finances, my health, and, most frequently, the unnecessary upkeep of the beach house. I tried to explain its sentimental value, but she simply rolled her eyes, her ambition clouding any empathy she might have possessed. She had always been financially irresponsible, jumping from one failed business venture to another, always expecting me to bail her out. I had done so repeatedly over the years, pouring significant sums into her schemes, hoping she would eventually find her footing. Each time, she promised this would be the one, the venture that would make her independent, but it never was. The money would disappear, and soon enough, another desperate call would come. My financial advisor, a shrewd but kind man named Mr. Henderson, had warned me about enabling her, urging me to secure my own future. He was the one who helped me set up my trusts and investments, ensuring I would be comfortable in my old age. And the buyer was my anonymous LLC, the one Sarah was blissfully unaware of. I had entrusted him with the details, knowing he would execute my wishes if something happened to me. About a year ago, Sarah's financial situation hit rock bottom. Her latest revolutionary app had flopped spectacularly, leaving her deep in debt. She called me, not asking for help, but demanding it, her voice laced with a newfound aggression. She declared that it was my duty, as her father, to ensure her financial stability, especially since I was just sitting on all that money and that huge house. I tried to reason with her, explaining that my savings were for my retirement, and the beach house was non-negotiable. That conversation ended with her hanging up on me, a chilling silence following. I knew then that something was brewing. I felt a knot in my stomach, a sense of foreboding that lingered for weeks. It was during this time that I made a crucial decision, a protective measure that would ultimately define the conflict to come. I consulted with Mr. Henderson again, and together we put a plan into motion. It was drastic, perhaps even cruel, but I felt I had no other choice. It was a measure to protect not just my assets, but the legacy of Elinor, the sanctity of our memories. I wasn't just defending my property. I was defending her memory from someone who saw it only as a commodity. A few months later, Sarah started visiting more frequently. Her demeanor had softened, almost too much. She'd bring me my favorite pastries, listen intently to my stories about Elinor, and even offer to help around the house. I knew it was a facade, a calculated performance, but I played along, observing her subtle shifts in behavior. She'd casually ask about my will, about the paperwork for the beach house, about my general health. Each question was a fishing expedition, a probe into my vulnerability. I feigned forgetfulness, pretended to be a little slow, a little confused, feeding her the illusion that I was an easy mark. I wanted her to feel confident, to believe she had the upper hand, because the higher she climbed, the harder she would fall. This period of feigned senility was difficult, as it went against my nature, but I knew it was necessary. I needed her to underestimate me completely. The days turned into weeks, and then months. Sarah's visits became more frequent, her probing questions more direct. She even started talking about future plans, for the beach house, decorating ideas, even potential renovation projects. I nodded along, offering vague approvals, allowing her imagination to run wild. She was meticulously crafting her fantasy, unaware that it was all built on quicksand. The quiet satisfaction I felt in knowing the truth, in holding all the cards, was a strange mix of vindication and sorrow. Sorrow that my own daughter had driven me to such lengths. So that's the situation I was in, and I had to make a choice. Here I was, a grieving widower, being systematically manipulated by my own flesh and blood. Before I tell you what happened next, what choice I made, and how this whole mess finally exploded, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have confronted her immediately, revealed your hand, or would you have played along, waiting for the perfect moment to strike, just like I did? Tell me honestly, what would your move have been? The moment of truth arrived on a Tuesday morning. I was having my usual breakfast of toast and coffee, enjoying the peaceful sound of the waves, when Sarah burst into the dining room, her face flushed with excitement. She practically skipped over to me, her eyes gleaming with triumph. "Good morning, Dad," she chirped, a smile plastered on her face that didn't quite reach her eyes. "I have some wonderful news. I've sold the beach house." My heart plummeted, even though I had expected this. The words hung in the air, heavy and audacious. I feigned a tremor in my hand, spilling a little coffee on my shirt. Sold the beach house, dear. What are you talking about?" I stammered, my voice deliberately shaky. She rolled her eyes, clearly annoyed by my supposed slowness. "Yes, Dad. I found a buyer. A fantastic offer, actually. We're going to be rich." She beamed, completely oblivious to the controlled fury simmering beneath my calm exterior. Rich? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. But it's my house, Sarah, she scoffed. Technically, yes, but you're old, Dad. You don't need a big house like this. It's too much for you to manage. Besides, it's a huge asset, and I need the money for my next venture. Think of it as early inheritance. An early inheritance. My blood ran cold. She was not only selling my home without my consent, but she was framing it as an act of generosity on her part, a proactive move to secure her inheritance. But the papers, Sarah, how did you? I trailed off, letting the question hang, letting her believe she was outsmarting me. She leaned in conspiratorially, her voice dropping to a smug whisper. Well, you signed a power of attorney last year, remember, when you were having those memory lapses. It was for your general well-being and financial management. Perfect for situations like this. My stomach churned. The power of attorney. I remembered signing it, or rather, what I thought I was signing. She had presented a stack of documents to me one afternoon, claiming they were updates to my medical directives and some routine financial forms. I had trusted her, or at least, I had wanted to believe I could. I had signed them without reading every single line. A mistake I would never have made if I hadn't been in a fog of grief and deliberately manipulated. But that was part of my plan too. I needed her to believe her deceit was successful. So, we're going tomorrow, Dad, she continued, oblivious to the storm brewing within me. The buyers are eager to move in. I've already made arrangements for you to stay at that lovely assisted living facility downtown. It's got a great activities program, you'll love it. My assisted living facility. The final piece of her perfectly constructed puzzle fell into place. She wasn't just selling my house. She was systematically removing me from my life, packaging me away to a place of her choosing, all while feigning concern. The casual cruelty of it all was breathtaking. I looked at her, truly looked at her, and saw a stranger, a woman consumed by greed and a shocking lack of respect. This wasn't my Sarah, not the little girl Eleanor and I had raised. This was a calculating opportunist. I took a deep breath, letting the silence stretch, savoring the moment. Her triumphant smile began to falter slightly, a hint of unease creeping into her eyes as she noticed my unusual quietness. "Dad, are you okay?" she asked, a flicker of concern or perhaps just impatience in her voice. I met her gaze, a calm, steady look that pierced through her confident facade. "Yes, Sarah," I said, my voice clear and firm, devoid of any feigned weakness. "I'm perfectly fine. In fact, I'm feeling quite excellent." Her brow furrowed. "What's that supposed to mean?" she asked, a hint of suspicion entering her tone. I slowly pushed away my breakfast plate, thanks to the continued, and walked over to the antique desk in the corner, the one Eleanor had given me years ago. From a hidden compartment, I pulled out a thick envelope. "It means, my dear Sarah," I began, my voice gaining strength with each word, "that you've made a rather significant miscalculation." I handed her the envelope. Her eyes narrowed as she pulled out the documents. First, a letter from my attorney. Then, several official-looking forms. Her face, which moments ago had been alight with victory, slowly drained of color. Her jaw went slack. The first document she truly registered was a deed, recorded several months prior. It stated, unequivocally, that the beach house, my beloved home, had been transferred into an irrevocable trust. And not just any trust, but one with me as the sole beneficiary for life, and upon my death, the property was to be donated to a local marine conservation charity, a cause Eleanor had passionately supported. Sarah slowly looked up at me, her eyes wide with shock and disbelief. What is this?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. "It means, Sarah," I explained, my voice calm but unwavering, that you have sold a house that does not legally belong to me, and therefore could not be sold by you, even with a power of attorney. The trust was established months ago, long before your supposed sale. The property was legally out of my hands, and out of yours, the moment it was signed over. Her face crumpled. The realization hit her like a physical blow. Her carefully constructed scheme, her grand plan, had not only failed, but had backfired spectacularly. The buyers she had so confidently secured would now discover they had bought nothing. The embarrassment, the legal ramifications, the sheer financial ruin of it all began to dawn on her. "No, no, you can't have, you wouldn't," she stammered, her voice rising in a desperate plea. "I did, Sarah, I had to," I replied, my voice tinged with a deep sadness, not for her, but for the broken trust between us. This house, this legacy, was Eleanor's. It was our sanctuary. You saw it as a means to an end, a quick buck. I couldn't let that happen, and the power of attorney you so cleverly manipulated. It only grants you authority over my assets. Once the house was in the trust, it was no longer my asset to be sold. It belonged to the trust, which is a separate legal entity. I watched as the full weight of her actions and my counteractions crushed her. Her eyes filled with tears, not of remorse, but of bitter frustration and self-pity. But what about the buyers? What about my commission, my debts? She wailed, clutching the documents. "That, Sarah, is entirely your problem," I said, turning away, my heart heavy but resolute. "You chose this path. You chose to betray my trust, to disregard my wishes, to attempt to steal my home and my memories. The consequences of your actions are yours alone." She stood there, sobbing, the crumpled documents in her hand, the grand illusion of her triumph shattered into a million pieces. The sound of the waves, usually so comforting, now seemed to mock her, a constant reminder of what she had lost, not just the money, but any shred of respect and love I had left for her. The following weeks were a whirlwind of legal complexities. The buyers were, understandably, furious. Sarah faced a barrage of legal threats, demands for compensation, and the complete obliteration of her reputation. Mr. Henderson handled everything with his usual efficiency, ensuring I was protected from any fallout. I received a formal apology from the real estate agency Sarah had used, confirming that she had indeed attempted to sell a property she had no legal right to. Sarah herself spiraled. She lost her apartment, her car, and any remaining friends she had. She called me repeatedly, alternating between furious accusations and desperate pleas for help. Each time, I calmly but firmly reiterated that I would not be bailing her out, not this time. I had enabled her for too long, and it had only fostered her destructive behavior. This was the painful but necessary intervention. I never saw her again after that initial confrontation. She eventually moved out of state, reportedly working odd jobs, her once grand ambitions reduced to mere survival. The beach house, my sanctuary, remained untouched, a testament to Eleanor's memory and my unwavering resolve. I continued to live there, watching the sun rise and set over the ocean, finding a bittersweet peace in the solitude. The trust ensured its preservation, not just for me, but for the marine life Eleanor loved so dearly. The satisfaction of having protected something so sacred was immense, but it was also tinged with the profound sorrow of losing my daughter, not to death, but to her own insatiable greed. So, that's my story. It's a harsh one, I know, filled with betrayal and heartbreak, but also a strange kind of justice. I often wonder if I did the right thing, if there was another way, but deep down, I know I protected what was most precious to me. My conscience is clear. even if my heart is a little broken. Like this video if you were on my side, if you think I made the only choice a father could make in that situation. Subscribe for more stories like this, where ordinary lives take extraordinary turns. And please, share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section. Did Sarah get what she deserved, or was I too harsh? I'll see you all in the next story.